Hi, this is Bob Weed. Now that we've sent your papers down to the bankruptcy court and you have a case number, your bankruptcy's officially started, it's my job to talk to you now about what happens next. It should be no surprise to you that there's still more paperwork. We need to provide the court with a bank statement for the day we sent the papers to the court of every bank account that you had that we listed in your bankruptcy papers. We gave you this reminder paper with a list of the bank accounts, and the place we got that was off of the papers that we sent down to the court. They'll be looking at those papers and making sure they get a bank statement for each one of the bank accounts that you signed saying that you had in the bank on that day. Please send your bank statements to your bankruptcy paralegal. You can scan them and email them, or you can send them in by fax. Your paralegal gave you contact information when you signed your papers. You can call if you've lost it. Please, please, please get that in within the next week. Your paralegal is standing by. Everybody who works for me is very nice, but they are under instruction that if you don't get your bank statements in, to chase you like a debt collector, to call you day and night, to hound your sleep. This is for your protection. If you don't get your bank statements in on time, when you go to the bankruptcy hearing, they will just send you home. You don't want that, and I don't want that. So please get the bank statements in this week. Next, we'll talk about getting the right bank statements to your bankruptcy trustee. We're going to take some time on this because getting the right bank statements can be tricky. The bankruptcy trustee needs to know the exact amount you had in the bank on the day we filed the bankruptcy. The trustee needs to know that the bank statements that are being looked at are in fact your bank account, and the trustee wants to know what happened to your account the few days before the bankruptcy and the few days after. For most people, it's easy to go on the internet and get a printout of the amount of money you had in the bank the day we filed the bankruptcy and a few days before and a few days after. The trustee needs to know the exact amount on the exact day that the bankruptcy was filed. The bankruptcy trustee wants to know what happened a couple days before and after. Why is that? Well, the trustee wants to make sure you didn't take $6,000 out of the bank the day before we filed the bankruptcy and put it in your purse. And they want to see that that $6,000 that might have been in your purse didn't hit the bank the following day. There's a problem with these internet printouts. At least for most banks, they have the account number, but they don't have your name. So the bankruptcy trustee will look at that and say, all this is very nice, but how do I know this is Virginia Sample's bank account? So besides the internet printout, we'll also need an actual bank statement. An actual bank statement that has your name and account number so that that can get matched up with the internet printout. I hope you brought that actual bank statement to your signing appointment with your bankruptcy paralegal so that it's already in the file. But if we don't have it, you'll need to send that to your paralegal along with the printout. We need the last complete bank statement showing your name and full account information, and then a printout from the internet that picks up at the last statement and goes on through to at least the day after the bankruptcy was filed. If you do that now and get it into your paralegal, we'll get it on into the bankruptcy trustee. The bankruptcy trustee will be happy, you won't be sent home, and we'll be in and out of your bankruptcy hearing in less than 3 minutes. One more thing before we're done with the paperwork. 2 of the bankruptcy trustees, Kevin McCarthy and Jason Gold, don't like looking at the fat set of papers that you signed and we sent down to the bankruptcy court. In order to make their lives easier, they have one more form that they want you to fill in that includes the the same information that was on your bankruptcy papers, but shorter. So if you get Jason Gold or Kevin McCarthy as your trustee, your bankruptcy paralegal will email you or call and say, "Oh no, there's one more form you need to fill out." When we go down to the bankruptcy hearing together, you will see that some lawyers have their clients fill that form out in the waiting room while they're waiting for their hearing to be called. I don't like to do that because doing things in a rush leads to mistakes, and I hate mistakes. So fill your form in, get it back to your paralegal so we can look it over, make sure everything is okay, and then when we turn it into your trustee, we know everything's on it, the trustee is happy, and we'll be done as soon as possible. Then everybody has to take the second class from Hummingbird. You go back onto the internet to hbcce.org and you take the second class. Here's the Hummingbird website. You're going to bankruptcy certifications, and then when you click on that, there's before bankruptcy, you already did that one, and after bankruptcy. Now that seems a little weird because of course this is not really after the bankruptcy, it's just after the bankruptcy is officially started, but that's the class you need to take. So click on that. It's mostly a movie. They ask you a couple questions to make sure you are awake during that, and they'll give you an approval number. When you get the approval number, call Vanessa Hill at our office. She's our main receptionist, and she's also in charge of making sure that you take the second class. You can call our main number, 703-335-7793. Tell Vanessa that you've done the second class, and she will download that class and file it with the bankruptcy court. Now this is really important. I told you that if you didn't do the bank statements, you get sent home and you get to come back a month later. You don't want that. You don't want to miss the classes, even worse, because they don't send you home. They don't do anything. It's just when you get to the end of your bankruptcy, instead of getting approved, you just get denied. So please remember to take the second class. Call Vanessa and tell her you've done it. If she doesn't hear from you in a week or so, she'll be on the phone to you to remind you, but this is so important. Please get that done. About a week after we send your papers to the court, you'll get this written notice from the bankruptcy court that your mailman will bring you. This is a notice to everybody you owe money to that you don't owe them any money anymore. It's a notice to us about the day you need to go to the court. Now this notice should be a reminder to you. If you haven't finished the second class, if you don't have the bank statements, make sure you get them in. The notice will have the date and time of your bankruptcy hearing, which is called the meeting of creditors. Hardly any creditors ever show up there. It's usually just you, your lawyer, and the bankruptcy trustee. They give you a day and a time. This is not like traffic court where they tell 400 people to get there at 9:30. The bankruptcy court schedules 14 people an hour. They do pretty well to stay on time. As to the day, they don't do these every single day, but they run them on Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays.
The hearings are located at 1725 Duke Street in Alexandria. This building is near the King Street Metro. Taking the Beltway to the hearing, you should get off at Telegraph Road North. It's a ramp that puts you onto Duke Street. New York-style pizza restaurant Quattro Formaggi is next to the office building where the Northern Virginia bankruptcy trustee hearings are held. This is the view as you walk up. Unfortunately, parking in 1725 Duke Street is $18. As you approach 1725 Duke Street, there's plenty of metered parking if you turn right on John Carlisle Street. The parking meters line a small park called John Carlyle Square. If you're early, there are a couple places along John Carlyle Square where you can get coffee. Then make your way to 1725 Duke Street and take the elevator to Suite 520. Once you open the door to room 520, you'll find a waiting room. Attorney Bob Weed will meet you in this waiting room, and there you can talk. Here is the hearing room itself. The trustee sits up front, and you and Bob Weed will sit across the table. There's plenty of audience room for other people on the schedule, friends or family if you want to bring anyone, and the lawyers. There's also a small chance that creditors or members of the Justice Department will be in attendance at the hearing, but we rarely see this. Every hour there are 14 hearings, so yours will only last around 3 minutes. As you approach the table, the trustee is going to ask you to provide a few things.
Your driver's license and your social security card. Trustee is required to make sure you're you. You want to have those handy. Remember, he's got to do 14 people an hour. Doesn't want to sit there while you fumble in your wallet saying, "Where is that thing?" If you don't have your social security card, they will accept the W-2 form from your employer. If you don't have either one of those, you need to contact Social Security if you haven't done it already, and make sure you have a Social Security card by your court day. All the trustees ask pretty much the same questions, not always in the same order, but it'll go something like this. First, you're Ann and you're Robert Sample. Swear to tell the truth. Raise your right hand. I do is traditional there. Still living at this Maple Street address in Farburg. Then, married to each other. Any dependents? Still working at the places that you put down on this form. Do you own any real estate? If you do, how much do you owe on it? You put down a value here. Where did you get that value? Usually for a value, we use the tax assessment, or a value we get off the internet from Zillow. Sometimes we get an appraisal, and we'll have a note on Schedule A on your form where we got that. You need to remember where it came from. Then, what kind of cars do you have, and are they still financed? The job of the trustee is defined if you own anything that he can take and sell, something that goes over your cash limit that would provide money to pay a little bit to your creditors. So he'll continue asking, do you have any cash value life insurance? Does anybody owe any money to you? Do you have a tax refund that's coming to you at this time? Has anybody died and left you any money? Next question, do you owe any alimony or child support? Now, bankruptcy doesn't do anything about it if you do owe alimony or child support. So why do they ask that? The court is required to notify the ex that they know where you are. As long as the ex already knew where you are, of course that doesn't matter very much. They'll also ask, do you have the ex's phone number? They're required to call and make sure they made that contact. From here, there's a sprint to the finish. Did you go over these papers carefully when you signed them? Did you list all your debts, everybody you owe money to? Did you list all your assets, everything you own? Are all the rest of these papers true and correct? Are there any changes or corrections you need to tell me about? They sometimes ask that question a couple different ways. Then they start to look at these papers that we had to send in. These bank statements. Are they really your bank statements for the days you signed the papers to the court and the day that the papers went down to the court? They hand those back to you. The pay stubs and tax forms. You remember the pay stubs. Are these really your pay stubs and really your tax forms? ask, then did your lawyer give you this sheet of paper and tell you you had to read it? We gave you this paper when you signed the papers to go to the court. It tells you about your 4 choices. Chapter 12 is only for farmers. You're still not a farmer. Bankruptcy won't get rid of taxes, child support, alimony. Do you have any questions about that form? No is a good answer to that one. Then we're done. Good luck to you.
You'll then make your way back to the waiting room where you'll have an exit meeting, and Bob Weed will answer all your questions and talk about what happens between your court date and discharge. Most people owe us $2.99 at that point, and we'll say thanks for your business.